So let's bring it back to Jim a little bit. Jim Rickards, he just released a book called The New Great Depression: Winners and Losers in the Post-Pandemic World. Jim obviously has his own opinions. You're good friends with him, and that's why I bring him up. But I like the idea of winners and losers because we, for the same reason that we're talking about, we have this idea that we're going to return to normal, and that's a concept that gets parroted on mainstream media on a regular basis. When can we get back to the way we were? But the dichotomy between the people moving forward and the people that just want to return to the way things were, to me, is how winners and losers get chosen. And the winners are the people, I believe, that are going to move forward, and they're going to be the smaller companies that are innovating because they have the opportunity to, and also the requirements of the economy are different than they were even a year ago. So yeah, let's just use that phrase, winners and losers. So who are the winners, who are the losers in the reopening of an economy?
So first of all, I have Jim's book, I think, behind me, and not just because we're having this conversation, because it was the last book that I have read. It's really, he's a great writer. I mean, he's a good thinker. He's a great thinker, but he's almost a better writer than a thinker. And I say that with like all respect to both of his talents. But it's a really good book to read, and it does lay things out very very clearly, and it also connects to literature and movies and stuff, which I like. I like to sort of read about economics in connected pieces that I can get. My other book that I'm reading is actually Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and talk about winners and losers. You know, Victor Frankenstein had a choice. He was trying to actually move his world forward back in the 1800s, well, when she wrote of it in the 1800s, because technology was actually moving forward and electricity was moving forward. And he was like, oh, I know, I'll use electricity to reanimate like this unanimated thing. And then obviously stuff got worse from there. But the point was, there was a shift. And in that shift, in the shift that we've had just now with the sort of winners and losers of this pandemic period, we do know that some of the companies that were already going in that direction. For example, some of the retail outlets that didn't quite position themselves to being online, but had a lot of physical real estate in places around the country, which they were already losing money on. The pandemic kind of pushed them into that arena a bit more, because people weren't really able to go to places, and so everybody started getting more comfortable online. And the net result of the other side of that was online commerce, which was already happening, has actually become much more of a sort of winner in this. But there's also been, you know, things like Shopify, things like Etsy, things that were already kind of moving in that direction, all of a sudden are both places where people can connect their own products that they create, as well as products in general to sort of move between each other, which is why things like UPS and FedEx have done well in this, because they've actually had the benefit of moving stuff around to get to people when people couldn't get to each other or to stores. Obviously, we have the shorter term winners and losers, like the airlines, who, you know, grounded a lot of planes, got rid of a lot of routes. Some of whom had middle seats open, and so weren't able, or decided not to sell all of their seats for health purposes. Some did, and therefore either won or lost customers on the basis of how they handle that. So, you know, American Airlines, your Delta, and all those are kind of reemerging now, having lost in the pandemic, as America reopens, as the economy reopens, as they get going. In terms of some of the technology companies, I mean, who would have thought that Zoom would be trading where it's trading? That was definitely a winner. And I think even though there's periods now where the NASDAQ is buckling, I think there's a lot of little Zooms that are going to be created in the technology space that can do things better, that can make our voices clearer, that can make our pictures better, our connections. I mean, I don't know, maybe we start to have 3D at some point. And so we have technology companies that emerge out of this need in terms of winners. Health technology has become a winner, oddly, because companies like Change, because they were trying to fill a need, which is that because people couldn't get other types of healthcare, net of COVID, as everything was sort of COVID-centric, that they could actually have their ailments diagnosed online with actual doctors. And I think that kind of thing actually alleviates some of the stress on the health physical sector. It also allows for innovation on other treatments that can come from that, where you have more of the diagnostics occurring physically, and then you have data creators that can aggregate, data masters that can aggregate that data and then go analyze it. And I think in general, the focus on health has allowed a lot of the genomic kind of healthcare small companies that just focus on one thing, like one aspect of cancer, one aspect of cancer in pets, or whatever it might be, to be able to sort of just focus on expanding that area. So I think those are going to be some of the winners. I think ultimately some of the winners will be on the infrastructure side of companies that are transforming things that already exist or are building for new things, like those new residences, like the new copper wires that are needed, like the more sustainable energy type vehicles that are needed, like the silver for solar panels that are just a mix of sort of old energy and new energy. And so I think this idea, and you kind of you mentioned it, it's like, are we going to look like we used to look? No, I think we're going to look better. I think when we reopen and as we gain stride, our economy is going to look different, but our economy is going to ultimately be more innovative and look better. And I think people ultimately will travel. That doesn't mean that it's going to pace with the overall stock market, but it does mean that certain selective sectors and those smaller companies that don't have to shed all of the expenses because they actually have evolved through this period or streamlined as they needed to through this period, will be the ones that forge ahead in the best way.